Okay, in this video we're looking at some absolute value inequalities, or equations. And when you look at absolute value equations, it's important to make sure you understand absolute value. If I say the absolute value of x is equal to 4, well, if you understand the solution of an equation, that is something that makes it true. Well, in this case, x could either equal 4 or x could equal negative 4. Both, because absolute value takes the positive of the number, would make this true. And so that leads us to a simple idea, and that is the way you solve an absolute value equation is you get the absolute value by itself equal to a number, and then you write out two equations. The two equations are x equals the positive of the thing it equals, or the negative of the thing it equals. This doesn't change if there's something with the absolute value. When you have something with the absolute value, you don't subtract away that something until you write your two equations, because that's it's an equation property to subtract b from both sides. So you're going to write x plus b equals a, or x plus b equals negative a. And either you solve those two equations and you come up with your two answers to this absolute value equation. So if we look at some examples, we've got the absolute value of 3x equals 12. Our first step is always to solve for the absolute value. Well, in this case, the absolute value is solved for. And so we write two equations. 3x equals 12, or 3x is going to equal negative 12. Right, two equations. You remove the absolute value, and the way that you're allowed to remove the absolute value is by writing the two equations. Divide both sides by 3, and you get x equals 4. Or, same thing in this second equation, divide both sides by 3, x equals negative 4, and it's very easy to plug those back in and see that they are both solutions to this equation. They give you 12 and negative 12 inside the absolute value. You look at number 4. Well, number 4 also is already solved for the absolute value, so you write your two equations. This is like the x equals x plus b example on the previous page. And so you're going to have x minus 5 equals 3, or x minus 5 equals negative 3. Two equations. You can solve both of these equations by just adding 5 to both sides, showing your transformation step. You're going to do the same thing in both of them. If you want to do them at the same time, you can. So that gives you negative 5 plus 5 is 0. It goes away, so you get x equals 8, or x equals, well, negative 3 plus 5 is 2. And again, if you plug those up here, you'll find out that 8 gives you a 3, which the absolute value of 3 does equal 3. You plug in 2, 2 minus 5 is negative 3, but the absolute value of negative 3 is also 3. And that's why you write your two equations. Now, number 5, the absolute value, x plus 2, has not been solved for yet. So we have to use our equation property to solve for the absolute value. We've got to add that 3 to both sides. We don't play around with the 2 until we get rid of the absolute value, because we don't want to play around inside absolute values until we got rid of them. And so that's going to give you absolute value of x plus 2 equals 2. And that problem now is just like this one, the one we just did. So write your two equations. X plus 2 equals 2. X plus 2 equals negative 2. Subtract 2, subtract 2, subtract 2, subtract 2, you get x equals 0, or x equals negative 4.